Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Lightning Assault Noosphere podcast. My name is Nathan, aka The Mazer, and joining me today is Dan, aka Little Willy.
I am here for the toasters.
and James, aka The Mad Magos.
A lot of zeros, a lot of ones, and a lot of combinations.
It's funny you should mention toasters, because when I was looking for memes, it was mostly just fucking toaster memes. Like, whatever. Anyway, yes, today we are talking about the Beep boys, the concerned Beeps, the Adeptus Mechanicus, who were once on the naughty step for several months, and now they're kind of not. They're doing fine. They're still sort of A tier, but after the points increase and the adjustment, being able to spam the Archaeo Opta Star Raptors, they seem to have gone to just good. Before we start, if you would like to join our community, you can jump on the Discord link below. If you'd like to support the channel, you can go to patreon.com/lightningassault. If you would like to have your army commission painted by our Mad Magos, you can go to fiverr.com/madmagopaints. And I think that just about covers everything. Before we start, how is everybody doing in the hobby and life?
Peachy. I can't complain. I'm painting that dreadnought that you got us. So
Fucking already, Jesus.
I thought I'd make a little switch, do something different.
So as I mentioned to Dan yesterday, I have not been enjoying my Javelin assault vehicle escapades. I've successfully built 2. There's a lot of cleanup work still left to do. I'm not building the 3rd because I don't want to commit suicide. And these are the worst sculpts I've ever dealt with. And I immediately feel sad. Just looking at them, they're on the desk behind me, and I'm just like, I can't be fucked with this. Like, even, you know how like on Space Marine shoulder pads, there's that rim that you've got to like get a separate metallic color on or whatever. This thing's rims are just like as if they were drawn on by a child with a crayon. It's just so fucked. And then there's bits that are bent still that need unbending, and there's just bits everywhere. So these 2 fucking speeders are going to take a little bit longer than anticipated. Other than that, bottled up a micro batch of mead today, a little smidgen of traditional mead for Dan, and I've sort of fucked about with a Parma Violet flavored mead, which I personally find absolutely disgusting, but Millie says it's nice, so yeah. It's turns out Parma Violet, the actual flower petals, sweet violets, ludicrously expensive and impossible to get hold of.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's this little baby test batch I've done is going to be the last. I don't even like it. Anyway, James, how's it going with you?
Yeah, Canny. Personal life, a lot of ups and downs. I'm not going to lie, this week has been a bit of a tax. Other than that, hobby-wise, yeah, great. I've literally applying the finishing touches to Dan's Witches tonight, now that I've had a chance to do it. And they should hopefully be with him in the next 48 hours. Once that is done, starting the commission that you quite kindly gave me for all of those orcs. So I think it's going to be a trip to the local hobby store at some point tomorrow when I'm hopefully dropping Dan's gear off, and then I need to pick up a load of paints. Yeah.
And then crying, I end in yellow.
Sorry?
And then crying, I end in yellow.
Yes. I think at least 3 pots has gone through of just that one, and I'm looking at the rest of my yellows, including the Vallejo and the GW yellows, and it's quite a limited palette, so I might pick up a couple of bits and bobs.
I
green,
messed around with
green
Vallejo yellow RLM04 Model Air, and it doesn't apply very. It's not a very strong pigment.
No.
A very weak pigment.
I mean, yellow is notoriously hard to work with.
Yeah.
I think for anyone listening, who isn't, let's say, a confident painter, I wouldn't discourage you from trying because you've got to apply yourself, but it's certainly not a first army colour.
Yeah,
I made
definitely.
that mistake with one of my first Marine armies being Imperial Fists, and the only way to save it was to just make them look like they'd been war beaten to hell, and I just literally, with a paintbrush, like not a paintbrush as in a paintbrush that you would use on your walls, slathered them in what was it back then? Well, it being Reitman Fresh Shade and
Yeah.
Devlin Mud, just to make them look half decent.
Yeah, I feel like yellow needs to be done with an airbrush.
Yeah,
Metallics are the best colour.
What the fuck is that?
I don't know
The machine spirit resurgent.
Has Dan got his own fucking soundboard?
Oh no!
That is the soundboard.
Oh,
I love it.
what a
Oh
dick.
no! Here we go. This is good. This is good.
Give me the toasters.
Speaking of toasters, here's a toaster meme.
Where are my witches, Jay?
It's very difficult to understand him, but I can almost understand. Wants his witches, bitches. Yeah. So
Give me my witches, Jay.
Something about paint my witches, G.
yeah, he says, "Give me my witches." Dan, can you say concerned beep? Apparently not. Okay.
No.
Concerned beeps.
There we go.
Save me.
Anyway, memes for the Adeptus Mechanicus.
Indeed.
Everything's toasters. Here's the AdMech transport. This is a toaster with legs. I believe that's the washing machine legs. They were all pretty much that, and then there's the classic concerned beep meme. And then the thing that AdMech are most notorious for is, raiding Necron in worlds, fucking with the Necrons and then fucking them back. And it is pretty efficient to refer to the AdMech similar to the seagulls in Finding Nemo, because they just can't get their hands off all that shit. So before we go into the lore, James, before we go into the lore, we're going to play a game.
All right.
We're going to play the same game as before. I'm going to tell you what the Forge World is, and you're going to have to describe it in 10 seconds or less.
Okay.
Are you ready, James?
Never.
Start with an easy one. Mars.
Do it.
Mars.
Okay. Birthplace of the Adeptus Mechanicus and Mechanicum. It is the holy site. If somewhat to be believed, there is a Necron.
Too late. Finished. Lucius.
Lucius, the Hollow Forge. Basically, Lucius has a sun inside of it, and powers the entire planet.
Okay, Agripip. What the fuck? Agripip. You know it.
Agrippina.
That's the one.
The experts in defensive warfare. They have been.
All right, that's it. Graia, whatever the fuck.
What?
Graia.
Graia, the Crown of Miracles.
What does that even mean?
That's basically their sigil.
What do they do?
Oh, off the top of my head. Oh,
Digi's 8th. Digi's 8th.
Digi's 8. I can't believe this. I should have prepared.
Riser.
Riser. Oh, Riser. I can go on for ages. Riser. The second Forge world only to Mars. Currently invaded by orcs. Experts in plasma technology. Created the.
And we're done. So I'm just going to put the concerned beep meme back up.
Yes.
Beep boop.
So what did we learn in that 1 minute and 30 seconds?
Nothing. Absolutely nothing.
I learned that Lucius is the Hollow Forge, and that they're not the.
Like my soul.
Yes, Dad. Oh God, that is
Okay, I'll
that
stop now. I'll stop.
it is literally that just reminds me for some reason of Alistair. Like that is 100%
What?
something Alistair would do. It's like the ultimate dad joke, even though he's not a dad, and taking the dad joke too far.
I'm allowed.
Yeah.
I'm allowed.
Yep.
I am a dad.
So James, now that you've completely fucking butchered all of the Forge worlds of the Adeptus Mechanicus, would you like to tell us about the Adeptus Mechanicus?
The Adeptus Mechanicus. Yeah, okay. So the Adeptus Mechanicus, or the Mechanicum itself, actually predates the Imperium. When the Big E first took out over Earth and then went out to conquest the galaxy, he knew he'd need the help of Mars to do it. So quite interestingly, he made a pact with Mars for it to maintain its independence, essentially. The Martians, or the priesthood, saw the Emperor as the Omnissiah, basically because Biggie did his thing, showing off and touched machines and restored them from scrap code back to like a sentient artificial stroke human intelligence. Any other broken wrecks around them were just instantly restored. So they all bowed down to him and thought, like I say, he was the Omnissiah. There's a small, as I said, I think when I was butchering the 10 seconds, there's a small element of the higher echelons all the way down to lowly servitors that don't, however, believe the Emperor is the Omnissiah. They believe that the Omnissiah is actually buried deep below Mars in the catacombs, essentially. And there is an element of truth to that. So there is, Nathan, help us out. Necron.
It's
Shard of
either
Tucson.
one shard
Shard.
or several shards. We don't know how many of the Void Dragon.
The Void Dragon, that's it. It's a shard of the Void Dragon, which some say the Emperor actually put there before he came forth as the Emperor, if that makes sense. To go back in time to jump forward in time. Anyway, like I say, so basically Big E forged a pact with Mars. They retained their independence, so the only ones to do so. The rest of, obviously, the worlds Big E conquered go out, either apply to the Imperial cult or the Imperial creed.
There you go, Nathan. You posted something. The start of the admic in a nutshell, right there.
Where? Oh, let's have a look. I receive
have a
full autonomy from the Imperium, freedom of religion, any necessary resources, a monopoly on technology, any STs you find, protection from outside threats. You receive Baneblade. It's a shame there's shit on the tabletop, isn't it?
Yeah,
It
well.
is like, but yeah, so that's pretty much it. They then went out and obviously helped Big E conquer the galaxy. They were allowed any forged worlds that had been birthed, as I say, prior to the Imperium that were refound. What's the word I'm looking for? Reconquest or whatever. Mars and the Martian Hood retained autonomy over them. Fast forward, I suppose, going through the heresy, half of them broke off and became the Dark Mechanicum. That's a faction I'd love actually to see get a rule set shortly.
I would be pretty dope.
I would love that.
Yeah, I think that's the way. If Games Workshop were going to introduce a new faction, I think that has to be it. We need another bad guy. Not that everybody's a bad guy and a good guy, depending on which way you look at it. But yeah,
An anti-Imperium
Yeah.
faction.
and the Imperium faction, and they would be magnificent. So, like I say, Horus and the Horus Heresy tempted nearly half of the known Forge worlds out there, including Mars, to turn to the dark side. Basically, he turned around and said, any restrictions the Emperor put on you with regards to research and technology, just go for it. Like, under me, you can do anything you want, research anything you want, and just go forth. And that temptation of freedom, obviously, like I say, gained Horus an upper hand during the heresy. Jump forward past the heresy, we know Horus gets beaten. The Dark Mechanicum, much like Chaos Marines, just all fucked off into the Eye of Terror to do their thing. And today you've got, like I say, just like everything else, it's a diluted version of the height of the Imperium. You have Mars itself is split into many forges around the planet. You have the overall ruler, which is
The Fabricator General?
Fabricator General, thank you. Yes, Fabricator General, who you don't see any play of. Like, there's obviously a lot of lore about him, and the fact that he runs Mars and everything else. But the main, on the game wise, the main person is.
A common misconception is that Belisarius is the Fabricator General.
He wants to be.
Not. He does. I was about to say, yeah. Belisarius Cole is the main character that you follow. And he does, like Dan says, wants to be Fabricator General.
And he's the most heretical, technically speaking, tech priest ever.
He's a cool dude.
But then again, under Gulliman's new Imperium, he's not heretical.
He spent 10,000 years making slightly taller Marines.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And he made an AI clone of himself.
Just so that many clones.
Yeah, just so that Gulliman had someone to talk to and he wouldn't have to deal with him.
Well, it wasn't a clone, actually. It was, believe it or not, it's the nearest thing that they've got to an AI, basically transported his consciousness into another machine.
That's how he's allegedly lived on for so long.
Yeah.
He keeps moving his consciousness into the next machine body.
And I wish I had this imprinted, because it was one of the things that I learned a long time ago. I say when the story about Cole and everything first came out. Belisarius Cole is in fact two people.
Yes, there is something about him having a split personality.
Yeah, so Cole was a high up tech priest and basically merged his consciousness with a Fabricator General of it almost, who was pretty much dying. And so Belisarius calling the personality is, like I say, it's schizophrenic. It's two people fighting for one consciousness, which I think is really interesting. So there, he's the main antagonist, the main dude, shall we say. And lore-wise, the army is split up into factions. I suppose you've got the Skittari elements, and then you've got the Legio Cybernetica.
Yeah.
The Skittari elements. Skittari are just basically humans that have been modified. That always, for some reason, have to have their legs chopped off. Is it at the knee or at the waist?
I don't know.
At the waist, isn't it? Like, if you notice,
it depends. I think different ones have their modifications in different ways. Like, because the the Rust Stalkers, they are pretty much just a torso.
They're just a robot with a cattle prod.
While the I think the Vanguard, I think it's at the knees.
Yeah, the standard Skittari Vanguard and Rangers have their legs chopped off at the knees and replaced with metallics. Yeah, basically. What's interesting is the modifications are so varied that it can literally be that they've replaced a natural lung with a leather lung.
Hell yeah, dude.
Like something out of the 1950s. Do you know what I mean? Like just like a sheep carcass for a lung. And then the next thing they can have is like a cybernetic implant that improves their brain capacity. It's absolutely
The
mental.
big brain chip.
The big brain chip, yeah, man. Yeah, so like I say, that's your Skittari. They've then split them off individually. We've recently had new units where you've got the, shall I say it? You've got the
The
Whippets.
Whippets.
Stop.
And most Mechanicum worlds are also very closely associated. Thank you. To some form of night household. Does that
They're
make
not
sense?
associated with them. They basically own the night household.
Well, yeah, but I think it's much like the Imperium Knights. It's the Oathsworn. Does that make
They're
sense?
Oathsworn, but only because the Admech are the only ones that can maintain them.
Yeah.
That's why
Yeah,
they're Oathsworn to the
yeah.
Adeptus Mechanics.
But
And
you
the
have like
Admech are the only ones that they're the ones that actually manufacture them as well.
yes, the Night Worlds, the Imperium Night Worlds have attachments of, I suppose, tech priests to keep them going,
Yeah.
and then the Forge Worlds themselves can produce their own nightly houses. But as far as I know, the structure of the night houses is still retained within the Forge World Knights. Does that make sense?
In what sense?
If I recall from the lore, the knights were basically passed down through families.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They drive the forklift of their father because they were
Yeah.
literally used to be forklifts. They were literally for looking after.
Yeah, they were used for sort of planetary
on-war
expeditions
stuff,
and
yeah.
expansions. Yeah.
And then a couple of the households just kind of like fucked off and became Questoris Mechanicus aligned, like Crast.
Yeah, Crust. Is it Tyrannus? I think.
Tyrannus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tyrannus, yeah, and Raven are like they're the main one, some of the main ones that are attached to Mars. Yeah, that's pretty much all I've got. I could, like I say, again with Adeptus Mechanicus, you can talk about them and the lore side of things for hours on end because
You didn't mention that they are absolutely batshit crazy in all their technological obsession.
Yeah, they are hoarders.
absolutely- They are hoarders. They do not believe in any kind of actual technological advancements, and they are actually religious zealots.
And they do not like people who invent things, which is why they all
No.
fucking hate Cole, because he invented something that wasn't just a discovery.
Yeah.
They're only allowed to build things that have been discovered and previously made.
He invented taller marines.
Yeah, he invented taller marines and a
suppose,
rhino
no,
with a fucking grav plate on the bottom instead of tracks.
Slightly bigger guns.
Yeah.
So the technology of the Imperium is all based off the STC, the standard template construct.
Yeah.
And that's really what they find, which is respect the STC. That's quite interesting. The STC is just a computer that has a small level of intelligence.
Yeah, it's
and
an
can
AI.
invent-
It's
Not
got
small
an
level
AI.
of intelligence. It's a very powerful AI. It is basically a extremely awesome 3D printer where it tells you, well, you say what you want to build out of it, and it tells you what it needs, and it processes everything and makes you the thing.
Yeah, it doesn't even tell you. It doesn't even tell you what it needs. It looks at what is around it, what resources are available, and says, right, you can build this using this, this, and this.
Yeah, STC is pretty cool.
Yeah.
There's none about.
Here's a side note. Apparently, a regiment of guardsmen found an STC that produces a knife,
Ah, yes.
and as a result, the unit that found them, or the sergeant of the unit that found them, was basically given imperial governorship. So he went from sergeant in the guard to owning a planet.
Yeah, it's not It wasn't an SDC. It was a fragment of an SDC. Because a
Yes,
whole
sorry,
a
yeah,
whole a whole SDC would be the whole kit and caboodle, and that's
yeah,
what the Imperium is still trying to find.
fine, yeah, no, that's true. My bad.
Because if they find one of those,
Oh yeah,
oh, the Imperium would get kind of spooky. I'm not gonna lie.
yeah. It would give Gulliman the ultimate hard on.
Yeah, unless it was
No,
like one of the batshit insane STCs.
I was gonna say they found one that was corrupted.
Yeah,
That was Gaunt's Ghosts, that, yeah. Producing the Men of Iron.
yeah, they're all a bit fucking tapped. Although saying that, I'm pretty sure the fucking Krieg have some kind of booky ass shit going on.
What isn't it like a weird law bit in Necromunda that one of the houses owns an STC or something?
I have no idea.
I'm pretty sure there's a piece of lore. What's the?
Yeah.
Because I don't play Necromunda, my lore, my knowledge on it is very limited. But I know that the extra like technologically advanced house on in
I think
Necromunda,
you are right, Dan.
allegedly they have like an STC or something.
Yeah, again, I don't think it's a full STC. I think it's a fragment. But they have like you say, they do. They have like advanced plasma-based weapons and these force shields.
Yeah, that's why they got like kooky technology.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, diving right into the army itself, we'll hit up the army abilities first because it's relatively, well, say it's simple, but it's not. This is probably one of the most complicated fucking armies to play. So if you're a brand spanking new player and you enjoy EVE Online, managing your ship by way of spreadsheet, you'll love Adeptus Mechanicus. The thing that I always find an easy like stereotype is if you are a graphics and media student, you will enjoy playing Adeptus Mechanicus.
Graphics and media.
Yes.
Interesting. Explain.
I have every single person except Dan that I have spoken to who plays Admech as their main army, as the first army they bought, were all sort of aligned with media or teaching media or graphics media or stuff like that. I don't know what it is about the army and that job role, but for some reason, that's how I've discovered. Yeah. So
no, I think it's important to say like one thing though is distinguished when we say they're hard to play. We mean they have a lot of layers of rules rather than like complicated strategy and tactics on the battlefield.
Yes.
They're an army that relies on you knowing lots and lots of their rules and layering them on.
I
think once you've played a little bit, you'll pick it up pretty fast.
Yeah,
You do the same shenanigans every time.
Pretty much, yeah. They have a shitload of stratagems. All of their units have different keywords. Like James said, you've got the Skittari keyword and you've got the Cult Mechanicus keyword or whatever it is. And so you've got two main sort of abilities. You've got the imperatives, which only affect Skittari units, basically your troops. Then you've got canticles, which only affect like your mechanical vehicles, castle and robots, stuff like that.
Unless you're Mars, in which case they both affect each other.
Yes, yeah. The imperatives have you basically choose one, and that affects your entire Skittari keyword based army for that turn. You can't pick the same one multiple turns in a row, and once you've picked one, you can't pick it again. Each one has a optimization, which is a benefit, and a depreciation, which is a downside. So if you choose the Protector Imperative turn 1, all your Skittari models get improvement to their ballistic skill of 1, but their weapon skill goes down to 4. And it's basically
+1, -1.
Yeah, +1, -1. And there's, I think there's 5, isn't there? Yeah, Protector, Conqueror, Bulwark, Aggressor.
1 for each turn.
Yeah. Then you have Canticles, which is what they had sort of just exclusively in 8th edition, which do not have negative effects. They're just positive. So, like Shroud's Armors, you get light cover for the turn. Again, you can't pick the same Canticle twice. There are ways to change Canticles mid-turn by way of Warlord traits and relics, though. But for the most part, you'll be screwing around with these and deciding which one's best. And then turn 5, you'll end up with really shitty choices.
Yeah, I think it's important to note that you don't have to pick one for the turn.
Yes,
you can go without them, and which is specifically important when it comes to the Doctriners.
Yeah, it's not like the Necrons either, where you have to pick them in advance, and you can't change them, and you have to have one every. The Adeptus Mechanicus basically have protocols like the Necrons do, but better.
Yeah, you pick at the beginning of the battle round.
Yeah.
True.
And it lasts until the beginning of the next battle round.
Yes.
So,
pretty good that way.
very, very strong.
Yeah, the other rules that come to mind is the is it rad saturation?
Yep.
Yeah, rad saturation.
Specific for that's unit
Skittari.
Skittari Vanguard, is it?
Yeah.
Basically, it's a Death Guard aura where you get enemies within 3 or 6 inches get -1 to their toughness.
No, it's within an inch.
Engagement range. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's within engagement range.
There are ways to increase it.
Yeah, it was a stratagem called Rad Oversaturation.
Yes, that's the one.
Which increases it to 3 inches, I believe.
It's a neat little thing. A lot of people forget about it.
There's a nice little thing me and you, Nathan, were reminiscing about the other day. So the Admech, the Dune crawlers, which are the big box tanks.
Oh, the washing machines.
The washing machines. Basically, the pilots are placed inside of them and stay there for the remainder of the battle. However, the rad saturation of the tank itself is so bad that as they're fighting, it is slowly liquefying all of their natural organs. So by the time the battle's over and they recover these tanks, they open the door and it's just a slurry of body parts and all the
toasters.
Toasters. Yeah, it's the same. It's the same for the Vanguard. Because the Vanguard are using radium carbines. I remember. I think I was listening to someone else's podcast. The radium carbines slowly kill the user, so the Vanguard just like fucking fall to bits.
Now replacing your lung with a leather lung doesn't seem so bad, does it?
Yeah. Maybe they need to replace them with lead lungs.
I mean, iron lungs. They just carry giant iron lungs.
They're just coffins. They're just cylindrical coffins with guns attached. Anyway, onto the units. So let's start with the big boy, the thick daddy himself, Belisarius Call. His models are hard to paint.
But one of the best models, I think, around.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I, for some reason, have 2. I never knew why I had 2. Because one of them's yours.
One of them's mine, and one's from your brother-in-law's other Admech shenanigans that he bought.
Yeah. One's painted nicely, yeah. The other one's just sort of base coated. Anyway, he rerolls 1s to all Admech units within 6. And he can select a unit similar to the Chapter Master upgrades for Space Marines. He can select 1 squad and they can reroll all hit rolls, but it has to be Mars. He can select himself and another unit and change their canticle for that turn, for the rest of the turn. So he's one of those ways to change canticles. He can repair other stuff as well as himself at the same time.
Can he change the canticles to ones that have already been chosen? Because if he can, that's hella busted.
Let me read the rule.
Because you can still keep
it's
spamming
called
the
Lead-in
+1
Prayer.
BS one.
In your command phase, you can select 1 friendly Cult Mechanicus core unit within 6. If you do so, select 1 canticle. This can be one that has already been active. Until the start of your next command phase. Yeah, until the next of your command phase, both this model and that unit benefit from the selected canticle instead of the one active for your army. So he is a very special inclusion, the army. He can do something that no one else can.
But he is pointed quite.
He's 180 points, which is the same
Yeah.
cost as a unkillable shield captain.
He's much more of a.
He's an
more
army
robust.
multiplier as opposed to
He's
a
a force
missile.
multiplier by
He can repair himself and he can repair another vehicle. If you make him your warlord, he has a 4-up invuln and he has the dreadnought rule, so he's -1 damage to.
Yeah.
He's got 8 wounds, T6, 2-up save, 4-up invuln, and he also has a fucking potato cannon, but it does lots of damage. It's only 12 inches, but it's assault through D3, strength 10,
Isn't
AP
it
-4,
damage?
flat 3 damage, and
Isn't it called a solar atomizer or something?
yeah, solar
Yeah,
atomizer,
it's
and
spooky.
it's got the
Spooky gun.
melter rule. So if it's within 6 inches, it's D3 plus 3 damage.
Yeah, it's pretty spooky.
Yeah, and he's got
that kills the crab.
yeah, he's got decent melee output as well. 4 attacks, strength 10, AP -2, 1 damage, and then
He's got the little tentacles, doesn't he?
yeah, he's got Mechadendrite hive with tentacles. It becomes damage 2 if it's against a vehicle, and wound rolls of 2+ successfully wound the target. So if he gets in melee with a vehicle, he just kind of picks it up and dismantles it in his hands.
Yeah.
This will make a fine addition to my collection. So he's kind of cool. Nobody plays him, which is sad because he's pretty cool. He's an awesome
I
model.
thought he gets played. I think it's because people don't play Mars very often.
Yeah. I really like him.
I expect people to play Mars a bit more often now with some
Yeah.
of the,
Now that all the changes have been made.
might see him more on the table.
Yeah. Next up, we have the Skittari Marshal. Fucking dirt cheap.
Yeah.
Not anymore. Well, I think he still is, but
He's
he
still
got
pretty
point
cheap.
increase
He was
recently.
hilariously cheap before, but yeah. So this is your Lord for Skittari. Instead of reroll hit rolls of 1, he rerolls wound rolls of 1, but only for 1 unit. He can also at the start of the turn select 1 unit, and they don't get the depreciation effects for the Skittari imperatives. And if you give him the Exemplar's Eternity relic, then he can select a unit and they can reroll all hit rolls and all wound rolls of 1. Most people run this guy with the Exemplar's Eternity relic just because it's so good, especially if you just like plonk him next to some rangers with those galvanic rifles.
Yeah.
They're getting a stupid amount of shots. They're pretty decent strength, decent ballistic skill if you got that imperative going. It just makes the troops extra scary.
Sorry, just a quick correction. It's all friendly Skittari core units get the reroll to 1 to wounds. It's not
Oh
just
yeah,
one.
sorry, yeah. The Exemplar's Eternity is Ooh. Is the Exemplar's Eternity also all Skittari units? Let me check. Exemplar. Holy shit, it's all. Okay.
Nice. Like
So
I say, he's the goat.
So let me just delete this. So reroll 1s. Reroll wound rolls of 1 and reroll hit rolls of 1.
Yeah,
That's pretty good.
It's dumb. Yeah, it's pretty dumb.
That's why he's potato and why he's included in everything. Speaking of potatoes, this guy has one. The Tech Priest Manipulous.
He is one.
He's dummy thick.
And dummy stupid as well. In terms of...
Yeah. So he gives the this is the guy that you see people running in Lucia's lists. Where he has the solar flare relic, which allows him to teleport a squad every turn. And himself. You give him the Logi or Logi or whatever it is, so that the target unit ignores AP 1 and 2. I believe there's a Warlord trait as well that you can give him, so that he gives 1 unit Transhuman Physiology, which means it can't be wounded on anything less than a 4. And he has Galvanic Field, which gives +1 AP to all Galvanic rifles and Radium rifles. So,
Is it galvanic and radium?
yep,
Damn.
he's dumb. He's just fucking dumb, basically.
Again, it's just an example of just how many extra rules
Yeah.
the Skittari, well, just Admech get. That's why they're so strong at the moment, is they get so many extra little things. When you start adding them all up.
Yeah, just vast layers of rules. I can hear Dan farming in Diablo 2.
Nah, that's not.
Speaking of Skittari Rangers,
Still keeping you in check though, aren't I? So
exactly. So they have two basic troop choice. The first of which is the Skittari Rangers. They're still pretty cheap for what they do. Like, I know the points have been increased a little bit, but they're still ruthlessly efficient. So obviously they benefit from imperatives. They're obviously going to be next to either a Skittari Marshal or a Tech Priest Manipulous for those rerolls or for the extra AP stuff. The Galvanics are heavy 2, strength 4, AP -1 damage. If you use the stratagem Galvanic Volifier, they get 3 shots instead of 2. So all of a sudden, if you've got a squad of 20, you're shooting 60 shots, hitting on 2s if you've got the imperative for it, rerolling 1s, wounding Space Marines on 4s, but then rerolling 1s to wound if you're near a Skittari Marshal. And they get extra bonuses in the Veteran Cohort Army of Renown, and there's loads of other stratagems you can use on them as well. They're just terrifying in large numbers.
I think even the other guys are even more.
Oh yes, let's go on to the other guys. The Vanguard.
Carbine.
So these are Rangers on crack. They basically have a different gun, except they auto wound on 6s as standard. If you use
short range assault guns.
Yeah.
What was it?
Yeah.
Mid range, I guess.
Rage 18?
I think so, yeah. But
with Rage 18. Yeah.
But when they're near the guy that gives the +1 AP to their guns, they get an extra 3 inches to their range. So they become range 21. What are they? Rapid fire?
Rapid fire 3.
Rapid fire.
Assault 3, sorry.
Assault 3.
They auto win on 6s with the strat. They auto win on 5s. They're usually AP 0, but next to the Manipulous, who they're always next. They're AP 1. I think in our escalation league, did Dan's they one-shotted a shield captain on bike, didn't they?
Yeah. I mean, it was
not
super lucky rolls, but
yeah.
Yes. This is the captain with 2 up normal save, 3 up invulnerable save,
5 up feel no
5
pain,
up feel no pain,
and extra 2 wounds.
Yeah.
Bad times.
6. Yeah. So yeah, it's pretty feel bad.
Yeah, and it hasn't changed. They're obviously slightly more expensive, but you can absolutely still do these combos, and they absolutely still do work. James did it to, is it not a couple of weeks back we played Admech?
James did it to my butthole, and it hurts.
Oh yeah, that was it. Yeah. Yeah, a terrifying thing to go against. Next up is one of the units that doesn't see a huge amount of competitive play anymore, but is still really good. I think they've just been outshined by the fact that everything else in the Codex is astronomically overpowered as fuck. And that's the Electro Priests. I know Dan has a soft spot for the...
I love the Electro Priests.
They're scary. They're just fucking scary.
Do they still get the
yes,
the weird invuln if they kill something? Hell yeah, dog.
So they're pretty. Not only are they just do they mulch shit in melee, they have a gauntlet and they have a staff loadout. They have a 5 up feel no pain. Oh, carry on. Sorry.
No, I was just going to say the gauntlet to shoot the antler and the staffs are more
melee focused. Yeah,
one combat.
Melee ones are the terrifying ones. At least they used to be. Again, I don't know what they're like in 9.
Exactly the same.
Hell yeah.
They've got the 5 up feel no pain. They've got the 5 up invuln that becomes a 4 up invuln when the enemy unit is killed, or they kill an enemy. Sorry. They do mortals on the charge, and they do mortals on 6s to wound in melee, like 2 mortals on 6s.
Yeah, they're pretty scary.
It's just fucking bizarre. Oh, and I think when they kill an enemy unit, the mortals on the charge gets like +1 to its hit roll or something like that. They're just terrifying, but people don't use them because
Yeah, I think it's just the troops
yeah,
was so good by comparison,
The best
and
troops in the
obviously
game.
the hands down. Yeah, the troops and obviously the planes and the weird whippets.
yeah.
They just kind of outshined everything else in the codex.
But yeah,
Uh,
I feel like if anybody wanted to play a melee sort of midfield bully unit without wanting to metagame, then Electro Priests are your
Absolutely,
babies.
especially now that Admech have a non-Forge World transport. It's a lot easier to
Yeah, the Baguette.
get them off the field. Yeah, yeah, the weird D-Day boats.
Yeah.
Because before it was very expensive to run them because it's quite a pricey kit.
Yes.
So you need like 2 kits to make a unit of 10, and then you had to spend like £80 on a Forge World. Was it the
drill.
assault drills? Yeah. Good days.
Next up, the best anti-tank in the game before it got nerfed by way of just removing core from it. Iron Strider Ballistari. These guys have a few
You've got to
loadouts.
stop for them, haven't you?
Yeah, so they've got a Cognis autocannon loadout, which is just a autocannon but better. They've got the Cognis las cannon, which is the best las cannon in the entire game and the only las cannon that works properly in the entire game. And it's generally what everybody takes. They're fucking terrifying.
Yeah.
And then they have a cattle prod, the Dragoons.
Yes, the Chicken Riders.
The Chicken Riders. Yeah,
Chicken Knights.
These motherfuckers, everybody runs with Cognis las cannons. They're fast, they're cheap as hell. The las cannons D3+3, I think. Am I thinking of that correctly?
I'm not sure.
Well, yeah, I think you're right.
Let me double check just so I know I'm not
Flagging it.
not lying. Yeah, D3+3. Oh, it's strength 9, AP -3, D3+D, and it's assault 2 instead of heavy 1.
Spicy.
Yeah. Just
Cool.
silly. And then what are the fucking what are they called? It is Dragoons, isn't it?
Which one?
Yeah.
Sidonian Dragoons.
Yeah, those are the melee
Iron
ones.
Strider
Yeah.
Ballistari.
So they're
Iron
strength
Strider
8,
Ballistari.
AP -2, flat 2. They have 4 attacks each. And hit rolls are 6, get 2 additional hits. So they have exploding 6s.
Yeah,
They're funny.
weird.
They're very expensive though.
They used
Horrendously
to be-
expensive to buy.
Yeah, that's the only thing that put me off them.
Yeah.
Yeah, if we're talking about why people should play
It's
Admech.
not like, aren't the kits about 45 quid?
No, I think they're about 30 quid each, but the problem is usually you want to run them in a unit of 3.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that involves you buying 3 kits. So it gets pricey to run big units of those.
And the problem is they're cheap points wise in the game. So if you wanted to
Yes.
run any in any number, you're looking at buying a lot of models.
Yeah.
Next up, we've mentioned them several times, is the Whippets. They come in various forms. The Cerberus Sulphur Hounds, Cerberus Raiders, whatnot. The ones that everybody usually plays is the Raiders. They move fast. They're again cheap. The kits are expensive, as same as the Iron Strider. So if you want to run any in any quantity, you've got to buy multiple kits, and they're not cheap. Saying that, I quite like the models. The models are pretty cool.
Oh yeah, great.
Fucking
they're
hard to
very
paint,
cool.
but yeah. Like I said, they're fast, they're cheap. They have a pre-game move, which is why everyone runs the Raiders, because the pre-game move. They have a 5-up invul, which is interesting on a cavalry unit. And the leader
run away.
Yes, the leader ignores lookout sir with his gun, and for some reason they have a stratagem where when they're charged, they can just run away. And it's really infuriating.
It's probably why it's one of the reasons why they're so good.
Yeah.
It's that stratagem specific. Is the shenanigans you can go pretty hard at the start and then
body block people and then go no.
Yeah, because it makes people whiff charges. And it's like
hit someone.
It's like
basically you bait a charge out and then you just basically get a free movement phase afterwards. It's too good. It's too good.
It's like Tangle Foot Grenade, but better every way.
Oh, can you imagine Custodes getting something like that?
Or can you imagine Virtus Praetors?
Ah, yes.
Not only can they stooping dive and charge in your opponent's charge phase, but they can also fuck off in your opponent's charge phase. That'd be hilarious.
That would be amazing.
It would be. I mean, if they did lose their invuln and whatnot, I'd be totally fine with that.
I want to believe.
Next up is the model that broke the game, the Archaeopter Star Raptor.
Oh God, yes.
So you can only run 2 of these now, thank God. There's a couple of things you can build out of this, but everybody just runs the Star Raptor because it's the only plane, I believe, that has a bomb that it can use infinite times.
Yeah, we were laughing about this, weren't they? They literally built. You can imagine 2 Admech boys, Cog boys, just literally building the bombs as they go.
Yeah,
Hell yeah.
I'm pretty sure they are the only flyer in the game with unlimited bombing runs.
You might be. There's not many planes that have bombs.
No, which is weird. It's a rule I was sure would go away, but no, it hasn't.
Instead, they decided to nerf all flyers.
Yeah,
fun overboard.
They're tough as nails for their cost, and they're cheap points cost, not cheap kit wise. It is quite expensive, and they just have a fuckload of firepower. They're just.
I think that's the thing. Sorry, go ahead.
They're just cheap gun platforms. They're just enormously cheap gunships.
What I was gonna say is that's one thing to keep in mind if you're ever planning to start a Skittari army, or we call them Skittari Admech. It is quite an expensive army to build in terms of the price of the model.
It is the most expensive army to build.
Yes.
In the game.
Yeah.
It costs approximately 30 to 40% more than any other army in the game. Because the kits are quite expensive, but not only that, the models inside the kits are very low points cost. So you need a shitload to build a 2,000 point army. So it's definitely a sort of a long-term labor of love, not only on purchasing, but also painting.
They are hard to paint.
They are a bit of a bitch to paint. Finally, we got the Baguette, floating Baguette. It builds 2 ways. The Scorpius Disintegrator is one we'll mention because it's the only one anyone uses. Basically, a little gunboat. It's the D-Day gunboat. It's got missiles. It's got a potato fucking cannon on top. It's got all sorts of shit. Lots of stubbers. And it's basically built either with anti-tank or anti-elite options. So perfect for murdering Gravis Marine or other tanks. And again, cheap. Fucking cheap as hell. Very efficient. And you can build it into the transport version, which basically doesn't have the tank gun on top, have the rest, and can transport 12 troops, which is where you would load up your what they call Electropriest. That's it, yeah. One unit I must have accidentally removed from this list is the Rust Stalkers.
Yes, very popular deep strike.
Really good deep strike unit that can also infiltrate. They have cattle prods. I can't remember what their rules were.
It's not. Sorry, no. The Rust Stalkers are not the ones. With
no, it's their infiltrators. Sicarian infiltrators. That's it.
Yeah. It's one kit, but it builds into 2 different ones.
Yes.
You got the melee guys, which are the Rust Stalkers, and you got the Sicarian infiltrators, which
So the infiltrators, can infiltrate at least 9 inches away from the enemy deployment zone when they're deployed. They deny rerolls as well. You can't reroll against them at all.
No.
And again, they got rad weapons, so they can benefit from the busted stratagem.
Yeah, and they've got the tasers, which get an extra 2 hits on hit rolls of 6.
I don't think they have the rad weapons because they've got the really cool, like the old.
They look like weird Lugers.
The Fletcher something.
Yeah, they got the weird. They're still like Assault 3 weapons, though, aren't they? Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, they just
Yeah.
Assault 3. Another Assault 3 weapon. Yeah. I remember.
Do we remember? Yeah, so that's all the units.
The
Is
cool units, at
all
least.
the cool units. What unit? Are there any units you guys want to touch on
Yeah.
that actually
you've got
matter?
to actually matter.
He's like,
Because you
no.
had the Tyraxis, Skystalkers, and Sterilizers. Those were sort of seeing some play, weren't they?
Yes, until they nerfed that weird rule.
Jump away.
So basically, they could deep strike, do something, and then go back into deep strike the same
Yeah.
turn, and then they removed that rule, so they couldn't leave the battlefield the same turn that they deployed.
No.
And now nobody really plays them that much.
Yeah, I think the thing is, if you look at all of the data sheets the admech get, there's lots of really good ones. It's just unfortunately they get outshined by
Obscenely good.
the super meta ones, which hopefully will go like it won't be as bad now that they've had the nerfs. But stuff like Cataphrons are really powerful. The Cataphron breaches and destroyers, those are really powerful.
And the troops.
You still have, yeah, they're a really tanky troop choice with big guns. You still have the what you
Gotta
call
have
them?
the selling robots.
Yeah, the Castellan robots.
Oh,
which
with
are
triple
like,
phosphor blasters.
Yeah, which
Oh,
is
yeah.
obscene. Lots of shooting there. I love the Dune Crawler, the Onager Dune Crawler. Unfortunately, now it literally just got replaced. The Scorpius Disintegrator is just a better version of it,
Yeah.
which is odd. I don't know why they've done that. They
No.
made two things fill the same spot, but yeah.
I suppose the only and it's not like it's going to get much show now because of the whole flying nerf, but the Dune crawlers could have like an anti-flyer setup.
Yeah, the Daedalus missile launcher.
Yeah. Where that twin link Cognus or is it an auto cannon?
Daedalus missile launcher, Gatling rocket launcher, and the twin Icarus autocannon all get +1 to hit aircraft.
Yeah.
I think it still has the gun is still crazy scary, isn't
Yeah.
The three guns, yeah. You've got the twin Icarus autocannon. The neutron laser is D3 shots, strength 12, AP -4, D3 +3 damage.
Yeah, the neutron laser is the one I was thinking.
I think the D3 shots is what kills it.
Yeah.
And the eradication beamer, which has got the focused and the dissipated profile.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a cool model and it's got cool rules. But like you said, they released a couple of new models like the Scorpius Disintegrator and made the troops obscenely powerful. And so now a lot of the models that everybody owns and likes thinks are cool, no one runs anymore, like the Castellan robots and the breaches and the Dune Crawler and shit like that.
You mean like me?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I mean, it's stuff that I own. I don't own any of the new stuff. It's just troops and washing machines and Castellan robots. It's mildly frustrating for those
first edition players.
Yeah, pretty much.
Hopefully
one day they'll come back around.
Yeah, of course.
That's a good example of just Games Workshop releasing new kits.
Yeah.
It's just how to sell new kits, make them do
better.
what the old ones do, but better.
Yeah, it's just the way of the game, isn't it?
Unfortunately.
So that's it for the core. I've got a sample competitive list, but honestly, there's thousands of these things. Like if you go on Goonhammer from the last few Meta Watch articles or whatever they're called, there's just a fuck ton of admech lists. It's basically Lucius with the Skittari Marshal and the Manipulous with the fucking solar flare and the firepoint telemetry, Logi and all the same stuff. Buttloads of Rangers, buttloads of fucking Archeo Star Raptors, Stratoraptors, what they're called. Iron Strider Ballistari with the las cannon. That's it.
Yeah.
The good.
Basically, all of the most efficiently pointed units in the game for every profile, like the planes, the Iron Striders, and the shitload of troops. Just a fuckload of troops.
Yeah, the troops are so good. It's would be silly to run anything else. But
Yeah,
the fact was that one of our friends, Henry, who's a very competitive player, he goes to lots of tournaments. He came, um, he got quite far in a tournament, and his list was literally like
just troops.
90% troops.
Yep. I think the only reason he didn't win the tournament was because he didn't have time to play his last 2 games, and he still came third.
Yeah, third or fourth. Some.
Yeah, and he just like dropped 2 games, so it was terrifying. Let's be honest.
Yeah, it's not like when you see Skittari troops, it's just like no,
Yeah.
no, please.
No.
I tried
I
to
would-
make a thematic list. I tried. I really did. In 2,000 points. And I decided to throw in a Skittari Marshal and a Tech Priest Manipulous.
Depends on what theme you're going for, Nathan.
um,
This is the fluffy
Favorite
list,
theme
isn't it?
is deleting my opponent.
yeah. So I got the
You
2
get your
HQs.
choices.
I've made it Mars. I tried. I've made it Mars. Two Ranger squads, 1 Vanguard squad, and then I added a Cybernetica Data Smith and some Castellan robots, all with phosphor blasters, so he can you know diddle the Castellan robots and make them shoot good. A squad of Cerberus Raiders just for a bit of easy engage. Some Archaeopter Star Raptors, and a Scorpius Doom Rider to throw some Electro Priests in. 8 Electro Priests, and that was it. That's the list. I couldn't help myself.
Man, it's funny. I need to check this as well. I don't know where I saw it, but I was looking at a list, and you know how in the olden days with the Castellan robots, you had to run either 2 fists or 2 phosphor blasters.
You can one or the other now.
No, I don't think you
Yeah.
had to run. You didn't have to run 2 or 2. You could choose. You could mix it up.
I always thought in the early editions you had to run 2 and 2, but yeah, no,
Don't
now
know
you can
about
mix it up.
previous,
So yeah, so it's true. You can have a phosphor blaster in one hand and a fist in the other, and still have the shoulder mount as well.
Yeah, 100%.
Not bad.
Saying
Not
that,
bad.
if I were playing Castellan robots, I would run all phosphor blasters or
Yeah, I was
all
gonna
fists.
say,
Yeah.
splitting it is not necessarily a good idea, because the army can't take advantage of. The problem with the Castellan robots is not a problem. Is just their mechanics. You have to change their sort of stance, if you wish. So
Yeah.
they're either good at shooting and shit at melee, or good at melee and shit at shooting. That's why you don't run one or the other. I know the whole point is you got the Data Smith that can change the configuration. But
you've got to
gonna bother with that.
You can just run them where they don't benefit from either attack or melee, and they just benefit from a save, though, can't you?
Yeah, but that's even worse because then they just was hitting on 4 up on everything.
And then they're just a very expensive pile of wounds.
Yeah, but I expect, like I said, I expect people to run them more now because they got a reduction in points cost.
Yes, they did.
So they're a bit cheaper and still.
I think they're a good midfield bully option, aren't they?
I remember the days when people would run like squads of 6 with pure phosphor blasters and then proceed to ass blast you off the entire table.
Everything, yeah. Was in 8th edition, so they the stratagem is still in game. So one of the Mars stratagem is called Wrath of Mars.
Oh yeah.
Which basically allows whatever unit is shooting 1 rolls of 6 inflict the mortal wounds. Currently 9th edition, you can do only a maximum of 6 mortal wounds for this, but back in 8th there was no cap, so that's why people ran like big units of 6 and just literally delete anything off the table, which is just sheer volume of fire and mortal wounds. It's good times.
Yeah. Happy days. So how would you go about at the minute? I think, well, how would you go about at the minute if you were going to build an army? I genuinely think, and I'm loath to say it, but we were talking about it the other week. The Christmas box set is a really good buy
Oh
if you want to
yes,
start Admech Army.
that Battle Force box is a brand new player's Adeptus Mechanicus wet dream. You
I mean,
could not ask for a more perfect start collecting box.
maybe. I think I'll say this, and I'll say this for any army that you start. Pick the models that you like best. Just because something's meta now doesn't mean it's going to be the meta in
Yeah, that's
6
true.
or a year down the line. So trying to chase the current meta, especially as a new player, is
Yeah.
sort of a bad idea.
There was I learnt my lesson quite early on in 8th edition because I tried to do that with Custodes, if you remember. People were playing Caladius, and I was like, oh, I'll buy some Caladius. So by the time they arrived, I've gotten built up, and the day before I was due to play, they got nerfed.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then people were playing Palace Gravitax, so I was like, oh, I'll buy some Palace Gravitax. And then a week before I built them, a week after I built them, and before I was going to play them, they got nerfed. And then I bought 2 Telemon, and they got nerfed 3 times in a row before they even arrived.
Yeah.
So yeah,
meta chasing. It's fine if you're like you've been playing for ages, you know the game very well. You're very good at getting an army up and running for a tournament, that kind of stuff. But that's the only time it's really worth like meta chasing. Just pick the units you want. Skittari have some fantastic models. It's a really cool, unique looking army.
Or if you have fat stacks of cash, just buy 3 of everything.
Of course, the smart thing, and magnetize everything.
Yeah. And if you have even more money, pay someone else to do it. And
That's
paint
the
it.
big brain. That's the 400 IQ play.
I think that's what Brian Pullen did. He just bought like an entire Skittari army, spent like an extra $1,000 to have someone else build it, paint it for him.
Yeah,
He was like,
if I had the money,
I ain't doing that. Yeah. I mean, that's what I'm doing with my
again,
orcs. I can't bring myself to paint that shit.
He's a competitive player.
Yeah,
he needs him up and running for the tournament. He's there to, because not all players enjoy the sort of, the more artsy creative side of the hobby. Some people like just the tabletop strategy.
Like me.
Some prefer paint. Yeah.
I despise painting with great passion. I'll do it if I'm required to, but if I have the money, I'll someone else.
Yeah. I mean, that's what's so great about Warhammer as a hobby in general. There's so much to it. I believe there's something in it for everyone.
Yeah, and even if you haven't got the time to play the game, they're expanding now to the point where, I mean, you've got all the Black Library. If you just want to read about it, you can do that. Audio books on Audible.
I mean, we've got the guy Chris in our gaming group who had painted Warhammer for 15 years and never played.
Yep.
And then this year randomly decided to play his first games in a tournament and lost every game, but he thoroughly enjoyed himself.
He had fun.
And that's what it's about. Man.
Yeah. Good way to learn.
I would say as well, personally speaking, my Admech army is probably one of the biggest army I've got. And that actually came about. It grew mainly from buying box set bundles, like Kill Team bundles with featuring Admech. There was a Necron one way back when that was basically Admech. It was when the baby knights.
Oh yeah.
Oh, the armatures. That was the
armatures,
Necrons versus Admech. Yeah, I remember.
Admech with the armatures. I picked one of them up. I've built the 2 armatures, but I've never painted. I think that's when I get some personal painting time when I'm going to put some effort into them.
Yeah, armatures are legit good.
I think the meta for knights, people run a lot of armatures. Actually, they don't. They run, what's it? It's not even armatures, actually.
It's the Moiraxes.
Moiraxes. They're basically armatures.
Yeah.
With
the new rules to give them obsec, I think we'll see a lot more armatures with a small amount of support from Bigger Knight.
Yeah. Actually, that kit, I can't remember if that kit actually comes with. I don't know if that's a dual kit. I think that's just Warglaves, isn't it? That just has
you either buy the Warglaves or you buy what's the shooty ones?
The Helverin.
The Helverin. So the Helverin's one kit. and the
Yeah.
Warglaives are another one
Yeah.
because they've got different slightly. You can mix and match them if you buy one of each.
It's exactly the
'Cause they-
same chassis. It's just the weapons.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's just the weapons and the shoulder plates for some reason.
Yes, the shoulder pits are ever so slightly different. You're
Slightly
right.
different.
Yeah.
Um,
One's rounded and the other one's like a bit more like
Angled.
an eyelash shape.
One of them has a skull on it. I remember that.
Yeah.
trying to
Um,
look for mine.
But I would always say that if you're building an army, be it slowly and steadily. You're not a competitive player, like what Dan was saying. Buy the models that you like the look of, and then when you see these box sets come about, because usually they're worth it, and they can,
Yeah, they're
you
usually
know,
good this game.
if there's a box set, a kill team box set or whatever with your faction, I would always recommend picking them up. And then, like I say, usually like me, you're then left with a few models of another faction that you can start at the late. So maybe the Necrons, I had a couple of squads of Necrons, and then next thing I know, you've got Conquest with Space Marines and Necrons. Oh yes, I'll have a bit of that. Now you've got Imperium with Necrons, and I'll have a bit of that. So now I've got a considerable Necron army, with a little bit of help from Nathan. And I'm hopefully going to be doing the GSC next year.
Yeah.
And then because I've got GSC from Bloomin' there's 2 or 3 kits. There was the Death Watch Overkill kit, and then I think it was a Kill Team box set
I've no idea.
featuring
Might have been.
GSC. I think it was one of the first ones.
Yeah, I think you're right. The first one was GSC versus Adbeck.
Yeah, and I picked that one up, and that's what I'm saying. So you get the models that you want for your initial army, and then you've always got a squad or 2 of something for your next project.
Hell yeah.
Right.
But that's
We've
that's just me
digressed.
rambling.
We'll have
do
to.
a little. Sorry, I was gonna say do a little summary at the end. Why should you play?
They're still busted.
Admit.
They're still horrendously powerful, even after all the nerfs. No, they're not completely crippling tournaments, but they're still pretty good. They're probably one of the most unique looking armies in the game. They remind me very much of like 1950s, like not cyberpunk, but like 1950s
sci-fi stuff.
Yeah, sci-fi shit. They're cool. They've got a lot of wacky units. Their troops are some of the best in the game. They have masses of stratagems, and if you're into an army that is lots
Very
of complexity and very shooty, then they're definitely the one for you. If you are poor, probably not, because they're the most expensive army in the game.
If you're poor, find yourself a sugar daddy.
Yes.
And get him to buy you.
Sell your used underwear online.
Oh,
and if you're a painter, they are a painter's dream.
They are very cool.
Yeah.
Maybe not when you're painting 120 Vanguard.
Yeah.
No.
I think that would send anyone loopy, to be honest. Yeah.
Other than that, I think we'll leave it there. Thank you everyone for listening in or joining us on the once it's been posted and recorded. Do feel free to subscribe to the channel and like the video to help us get seen from the algorithm. You can join us next week on Sunday for our next podcast at 7 p.m. And you can join us next Wednesday, not Thursday, because I'm away on Thursday evening, for our regular scheduled battle report. We are playing Grey Knights versus the new Imperial Guard rules, so 2-up tanks.
I'm making Imperial Guard, yeah. Tank.
Yep, lots of tanks, and some wacky shit. So yeah, thank you for joining us, and we'll see you guys next time.
Goodbye.
Hey.